Mic test. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Requesting everyone to please stand for our prayer to be led to us by Senior Master Sergeant Ariel B. Ramos, Philippine Army.
May I request everyone to close our eyes and let us bow down our heads and let us feel the presence of God in our midst. Let us all pray. Almighty and gracious Father, we come before you with grateful and humble hearts, united in spirit, as we gather for the lawns of talented, responsible, innovative, and brave youth 2024. We thank you for this wonderful opportunity to bring together the Filipino youth in solidarity, advocating for our sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea. Lord, we seek your divine guidance as we embark on these significant endeavors. Bless this event, O God, and all the simultaneous gathering across our nations. May every activity resound with unity, purpose, and unwavering love for our country. We lift to you, O God, the objectives of this initiative: to enlighten and educate the public about the truth surrounding the West Philippine Sea, to combat misleading and false informations, ensuring that truth prevails over deception, to unite our people under one cause, championing our government's efforts to promote national interests, uphold the rule-based international order, and advocate peace in the West Philippine Sea. Father, we entrust to you our resource speakers and subject matter experts who will impart their knowledge on the historical, legal, environmental, and economic significance of this vital region. Fill them with wisdom, courage, and integrity, that their words may inspire and awaken many hearts. We also pray for our media friends who work tirelessly to shed light on these critical issues. Grant them safety, protections, and the strength to amplify the truth across our nations and to the world. Bless all the youth participants, the organizers, and attendees with your grace. May this day spark a deeper sense of patriotism and responsibility in our hearts, empowering us to be courageous defenders of our nation's sovereignty and champions of truth and justice. Heavenly Father, we commit this event into your hands, confident that through your guidance and blessing, Tribute 2024 will not only succeed, but will leave a lasting legacy of awareness, unity, and love for our beloved Philippines. All this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
You may now take your seats. Isang magandang hapon, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Isang magandang hapon na partner, ano? Isang magandang hapon sa mga katropa nating nandito ngayon sa loob ng ating himpilan.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, kung saan man kayong dako sa ating mundo, kayo po ay aming tinatanggap dito po sa the West Philippine Sea Talk Show.
Ayan nga po, ladies and gentlemen, sa 2 oras po nating talakayan, kami po ang inyong makakasama. Ako po ang inyong katropang Jai.
At ako po ang inyong katropang Bel. Mga katropa, ngayon pong araw na ito atin pong alamin, ipaglaban at suportahan ang ating karapatan sa ating mga karagatan.
Ayan na nga po mga katropa, sa hapong ito, nako, napakarami nating resource persons na matatalakay natin dito sa ating himpilan ngayon. At isa na nga dito ang ating katropang Bel.
Okay, marami po tayong mga panauhin ngayong hapong ito dahil nais po namin kayong bigyan ng maraming kaalaman kaugnay po sa ating karagatan at mga katropang ating mga makakasama ay mga expert sa kanila po namang larangan, lalong-lalo na po mga katropa, dun po naman yung may kaugnayan sa ating maritime resources, particularly the West Philippine Sea.
Ayan na nga po mga katropa, wag na natin patagalin pa. Isa sa mga makakapanayan po natin ngayong hapon, si Honorable Justice Antonio T. Carpio, a historical and legal expert, a former Senior Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, a strong defender of the West Philippine Sea, and a leading figure in the arbitration case against China.
We also have Dr. J. Batong-Bakal. Attorney Batong-Bakal is an international law expert and professor. He will discuss the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the arbitral award promulgated by the Permanent Court Arbitration in 2016.
We'll also have Professor Don McLean Hill, a professor at the De La Salle University and an expert on geopolitics and foreign policy analysis. He will be providing us an in-depth analysis of the President's foreign policy and how it impacts and shapes geopolitics in Indo-Pacific region and in the whole world.
Last but not the least, certainly, Dr. Fernando Siringan, a professor from the University of the Philippines and the chief of the UP Marine Science Institute. And he will be sharing with us his studies on the marine life, biodiversity, and other resources that can be found in the West Philippine Sea and in waters within our exclusive economic zone.
Ayan nga po mga katropa, and maliban po sa ating mga makakapanayam ngayong hapon, ay meron din po silang mga interviewees na talaga naman pong batikan din sa kanilang field. At mamaya ay i-introduce natin kung sino nga ba ang mag-i-interview sa ating mga makakapanayam ngayong hapon.
At bukod dyan mga katropa, abangan po ninyo dahil kayo po ay aming dadalhin sa Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao as we present the updates from the tribute activities ng atin po namang Civil Relations Group located, yun na nga po, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Handa na ba kayong magbiyahe ngayong hapong ito kasama namin? At syempre, ng amin po mga marine experts.
Ayan na nga po mga katropa. So later on ay tatawagin po natin ang ating mga Civil Relations Group kasi sa pagkakaalam po ng lahat ay hindi lamang po dito sa Luzon, naka-live po tayo. So meron din po mga activities within our Civil Relations Group saan mang dako ng Pilipinas.
That's right, and they will be showcasing their talent. So marami po yan. Abangan po ninyo. Kami po dito sa Manila ay mag-aabang naman at manonood din nung nagaganap dun po sa Quezon City University.
Ayan na nga po mga katropa, wag na natin patagalin pa to give us his opening remarks in behalf of Chairman Jeff Ortega, Ms. Cristabeth Jacinta A. Madrigal, the Presidential Staff Officer, 6th Chief of Social Marketing Division, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Honorable Justice Antonio Carpio, Dr. J. Batong-Bakal, Professor Don McLean Hill, Dr. Fernando Siringan, youth organization leaders nationwide, members of the Philippine National Police, members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Dr. Baby Bernadette Fernando, the Chief of Policy Research Division of NYC, who's with me today, esteemed members of various government agencies, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon, I am representing our very own Chairperson, CEO, Undersecretary Joseph Francisco Jeff Ortega, to deliver a speech on the Filipino youth role in government and the West Philippine Sea issue. Once again, good day, everyone. Today, I stand before you not as a fellow Filipino, but as someone who believes in the extraordinary power of the youth to shape the future of our nation. The Filipino youth have always been agents of change, a driving force behind movements that have defined our country's history. But now, more than ever, our nation needs us to be actively involved, not as spectators, but as participants in governance and national issues that shape our sovereignty and future. One such issue is the West Philippine Sea, a topic that transcends politics and cuts to the very core of our identity as a people. The recent initiatives such as the Philippine Coast Guard's Atin Ito program highlights the importance of asserting our sovereignty and defending the territorial waters. This campaign is more than a call to safeguard our natural resources. It is a clarion call to defend the rights of every Filipino to the seas that have fed, nurtured, and protected us for generations. But what role does the youth play in this? First, awareness. We must educate ourselves and others about the Philippine Sea issue, understanding our history, the laws that govern international waters, and the economic and environmental stakes at play allow us to engage in informed discussion. Social media, often criticized for its pitfalls, can be a powerful tool if used responsibly. Let us use it to amplify truth, correct misinformation, and spread awareness about programs like Atin Ito. Second, advocacy. The youth have a unique voice, fresh, passionate, and unyielding. Through petitions, peaceful demonstrations, and partnerships with organizations like the Philippine Coast Guard, we can send a message that the Filipino youth stand firm in defending what is ours. Finally, participation. Beyond the West Philippine Sea issue, the youth engagement in governance is crucial. This includes voting wisely, holding leaders accountable, and even stepping into public service ourselves. Programs like Atin Ito shows us that leadership is not just about occupying positions of power. It is about taking initiatives, solving problems, and rallying people towards a common goal. As we face challenges in asserting our sovereignty, let us remember the courage of our heroes who fought for us freedom. Today, we are called to be modern-day heroes, not with weapons, but with wisdom, determination, and unity. The West Philippine Sea is not just a piece of water. It is a testament to who we are and what we can stand for as a nation. And the Filipino youth, with our energy and vision, have a critical role in safeguarding it for generations to come. Let us take up this responsibility with pride. Let us say with conviction, Atin Ito, because it is ours to defend, and ours to cherish, and ours to pass on. Mabuhay ang kabataang Pilipino, and may we continue to rise as one of our country, the Philippines. Thank you, and magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, ma'am.
And talaga naman mga katropa, no, sa mensahe pa lamang po ng ating Chairman Ortega ay nai-excite na ako, katropang
Oo
Bel,
naman.
sa mga malalaman at matututunan natin ngayong hapon.
At lalong-lalo na ng ating mga kabataan na siya pong magpapatuloy ng ating sinimulan at sa ating kasalukuyang ginagawa.
Ayan na nga po mga katropa, wag na natin patagalin pa. Ipakilala na natin, katropang Bel, sino nga ba ang ating unang makakapanayam ngayong hapon?
Ayan, ngayong hapong ito mga katropa, kami po naman ay honored and privileged to introduce to you Justice Antonio Carpio, one of the Philippines' most prominent legal minds. He is a staunch advocate for defending the country's territorial sovereignty, particularly in the West Philippine Sea. Serving in the Philippine Supreme Court from 2001 to 2019, Justice Carpio was widely recognized for his sharp legal acumen, integrity, and expertise in constitutional and international law. Beyond the tenure on the bench, he has devoted his career to educating the public and championing the Philippines' maritime rights. His work as a sought-after speaker, prolific writer on maritime law, and key figure in landmark legal victories has cemented his role as a leading defender of the country's sovereignty.
And ayun na nga po mga katropa, Justice Carpio's advocacy is grounded in legal and historical evidence supporting the Philippines' territorial claims. He traces the roots of these claims to the Treaty of Paris, 1898, where Spain ceded the Philippines archipelago to the United States, supported by historical maps and documents that clearly outline the Philippines' rightful territories, including parts of the West Philippine Sea. As a pivotal player in the Philippines' 2016 arbitral tribunal case against China at The Hague, Carpio helped us secure a landmark ruling invalidating China's expansive 9-dash line claims under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. He has consistently emphasized this ruling's significance as a victory for small nations against larger powers. Even after retirement, Justice Carpio continued his advocacy through lectures, writings, and collaborations with legal and diplomatic experts. He has authored works such as the South China Sea Dispute, Philippine Sovereign Rights and Jurisdictions in the West Philippine Sea, contributing to greater public understanding of the issue. Through his tireless efforts, Justice Carpio remains a powerful voice, urging the Philippine government and the international community to uphold the 2016 arbitral award, defend the rule of the law, and pursue peaceful, law-based resolutions to the maritime conflict. Ayan mga katropa, ladies and gentlemen, our unang makakapanayam, Justice Antonio T. Carpio. And para naman po sa interviewin ng ating unang makakapanayam, Ms. Jamela Aisha Martinez Alindugan is an award-winning journalist and senior correspondent with over 15 years of experience covering conflicts, natural disasters, and human rights issues across the Philippines and Southeast Asia, particularly in Mindanao. Known for her fearless reporting, she has faced significant risks, including death threats, and received accolades such as the 2018 10 Outstanding Young Filipinos Award and recognition by UNESCO and the Swedish Foreign Ministry in 2023. Currently, Ma'am Jamela serves as the Foreign Affairs Editor and Public Affairs Anchor for the Billionaire News Channel. She is also the President of the Foreign Press Club of the Philippines and holds a postgraduate degree in International Security, further strengthening her expertise in conflict reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Jamela Alindugan.
Okay,
Yes,
may
ma'am.
we request our interviewee and the interviewer, ma'am, to go on stage. They should have their lapel with them.
I'm not yet lapelled. Magandang hapon po.
Ayan.
May we all please give retired Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio a big round of applause. Good afternoon, Justice. It's so good to see you again. A real treat to have you here. Thank you for the warm welcome. Justice is supposed to come up with a lecture today. That was a more spontaneous decision that he had, which I think is an amazing Christmas gift for us to be able to sit through and listen to his lecture. While we're sorting that out, we'll have a bit of discussion. We will open the floor to questions from our live audience. And for those who would like to ask questions, you could probably type your questions doon sa Zoom chat. And if we still have time, I will probably have somebody send me those questions. Justice Carpio, Merry Christmas. It's good to see you. We've had a very interesting discussion po sa sideline kanina. And in particular, you talked about the West Philippine Sea, the importance of West Philippine Sea. You have, over the past many years, been going around the country and globally to basically put a spotlight on what China is doing in the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea. Tell us why young people, for example, who are tuning in and nakikinig dito sa atin live, no? Bakit ganun ka-importante na maintindihan nila kung ano ang West Philippine Sea at hindi lamang ito abstract at ano yung kailangan nilang gawin sa kanilang sariling partisipasyon?
Yeah, thank you for that. The West Philippine Sea provides food for us and provides power for us. How? We get about 12 to 16% of our fish annually from the West Philippine Sea. So it's important for our food security. In the last 6 years, we have been importing galunggong, and yung galunggong na ini-import natin actually galing sa West Philippine Sea. Kinukuha ng mga Chinese fishermen. You know, China has the largest fishing fleet in the world. They get the fish in the West Philippine Sea sa ating exclusive economic zone, tapos binibenta sa atin. Mali. Dahil ang isda sa exclusive economic zone sa West Philippine Sea belongs exclusively to Filipinos. Tinatawag nga exclusive economic zone because the adjacent coastal state has exclusive right to the economic benefits. And one of the economic benefits is yung isda. So, binibenta sa atin ng China yung galunggong na that we own. We own the galunggong, pero silang kumukuha at binibenta sa atin. Ganyan nangyayari. So, it's really a very bad situation for us. And of course, I've traced the price of galunggong since about 8 years ago. It has more than doubled already. So, the West Philippines is important because of food security. And also, the West Philippine Sea is important because of energy. Ngayon, we get 20% of our energy requirement nationwide, or 40% of the energy requirement of Luzon from Malampaya. We get the gas there in Malampaya to supply our 3 largest gas-fired plants in Bataan. But yung gas in Malampaya is being exhausted already. So before it used to supply 3 of our largest gas-fired plants. This year, 2 na lang. 2 of our largest gas-fired plants are supplied by Malampaya. By the end of this year, by next year, we expect only 1 gas-fired plant can be supplied by Malampaya. And then maybe starting 2026 or 2027, wala na. We will not be able to get gas from Malampaya anymore. The natural substitute replacement is reed bank. Yung reed bank is about almost 2 to 3 times larger than Malampaya. Malampaya has served us for more than 25 years, so reed bank should supply us for at least 50 years. But the problem is, we are not getting the gas in reed bank because sabi ng China, amin yan. But reed bank is within our exclusive economic zone. That was affirmed by the Arbitral Tribunal in the July 12, 2016 Arbitral Award. So imagine that if we do not get the gas in reed bank, we have to import LNG to supply our gas-fired plants in Luzon. And my estimate, my own calculation is our energy prices will go up by 50%. That's my estimate. So you can just imagine if the cost of energy goes up by 50%, that will be inflationary. Tataas lahat. And of course, pag tataas yung energy, all the foreign manufacturers here, they rely on energy, they will have to move out of the Philippines, relocate, because they cannot compete with their competitors in Vietnam or in China. So we will lose investments. We will lose our manufacturing capability here because the power rates will be very high. So napaka-importante talaga that we will protect our exclusive economic zone in the West Philippine Sea because that's important for our economic survival. Last month, the Chinese said that Malaysia should stop getting the gas in Kashiwara area, that's off the coast of Sabah, facing the South China Sea. Sabi ng China, that's within the 10-dash line. Ang sabi ni Anwar, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, we have to get the gas because it's a matter of national survival. Klarong-klarong sinabi niya, national survival ito. Ganyan din sa atin eh. National survival ito to get the gas because it's horrendous to paint what will happen if we have to import LNG. The prices of energy will go up and everything will go up. It will be terrible for us.
Justice, I'd like to jump quickly to a series of questions, but towards the last part, I'm going to ask you one last question before you proceed to the lecture because everyone is quite excited to hear you lecture today. Quickly, the real threat on the West Philippine Sea, would you think that it is in a way a threat of overfishing, smuggling, or is it a threat of invasion? If there's a way to rank it in your assessment, what would that be? And if that's the case, if I may ask, sir, how should that approach be when it comes to the defense of the territorial sea and exclusive economic zone?
Well, let us look at the objective of China. The objective of China is very simple, to make the 10-dash line its national boundary. In the latest map that China released showing the 10-dash line, the legend of the map shows the 10 dashes are the international boundary of China. They call it international boundary. What is the international boundary? What is inside the international boundary is the national territory. So China is saying everything within the 10-dash line is its national territory. So yan ang objective nila, to get their national territory because they're saying it is now being occupied by many countries, by Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and they will get it back. That is their objective, to make the 10-dash line their national boundary. If they succeed doing that, then we will lose 80% of our exclusive economic zone in the West Philippine Sea. Now, what is stopping China from just pushing us away and all the rest of the countries? The U.S. and its allies sail in the West Philippine Sea. And every time they sail, they tell China, this is not your national territory. This is the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, and under UNCLOS, there is freedom of navigation and overflight in the exclusive economic zone. So they are actually preventing China from making the 10-dash line the national boundary of China. If today the U.S. and its allies will leave the South China Sea, tomorrow the 10-dash line is the national boundary of China. We lose 80% of our exclusive economic zone. We lose Scarborough Shoal. We will lose the entire Calayan Island group. Now, can we rely on the U.S. forever? No, we cannot. Because the U.S. has been an isolationist country twice at least in history, before World War I and before World War II. So they can become isolationist again. Trump said, my priority is America first. So we have really to prepare for the day when we will have to defend our own maritime zones ourselves. And I was thinking that this might happen 10, 15 years from now, but it could happen anytime. If you look at the video, Trump said, we cannot blame Russia for invading Ukraine. I can always hear Trump saying, we cannot blame China for invading the West Philippine Sea. We have to be prepared now because it's too late already. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On that note, I'll be getting off the stage to basically get you started on your lecture. Thank you very much. Again, a big round of applause for Justice Carpio. He will now proceed with his lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Jam. And alam po namin mga katropa na nabitin po tayo sa discussion ni Justice Carpio. But later on, after natin mapakinggan ang ilang updates from our civil relations group, ay magbabalik po si Justice Carpio for his lecture.
Okay, and tayo po ngayon ay dahil nga syempre no yung ating yung kanyang ang kanya namang ibabahagi sa atin. Obviously nakita natin napakalawak ng kanyang kaalaman, napakalalim ng kanyang understanding, and yan ay sinishare niya sa atin ngayong hapong ito. So maswerte talaga tayo ngayong araw na ito. Kaya nasaan man kayong dako ng Pilipinas, basta sa lahat po ng mga Pilipino na kasama natin ngayon no dito sa ating West Philippine Sea Talk Show, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyo, inaanyayahan namin kayo na antabayanan. Ito po namang ayan yung presentation, mukhang naririnig na rin natin, ano? Okay na. So all right, so should we have Justice Carpio again? Okay, so Justice Carpio, sir, may we request your presence on stage once again to for the presentation. And I think we are all excited. We also would like to acknowledge, no, Katropang Jai, yung lahat po ng mga nandito ngayon sa Bulwagang Reyes, ang ating multipurpose hall, ang ating studio ngayong araw na ito para po sa ating WPS Talk Show. And this is being produced by the Civil Relations Service, Armed Forces of the Philippines. At mamaya pagkatapos po ng ating WPS Talk Show, ang atin namang matutunghayan ang tribute. Alam niyo po mga katropa, kaya po natin ito ginagawa ay para po sa ating mga kabataan and syempre para sa ating lahat na nandito. So maraming salamat po sa mga sumama dito, and kami po ay natutuwang kayo'y aming makasama.
Ayan mga katropa, muli atin po nga welcome back on stage Justice Carpio for his lecture regarding Philippine Island territories in the West Philippine Sea.
There are two disputes in the West Philippine Sea. You have the maritime dispute and the territorial dispute. The maritime dispute has been settled with finality by the July 12, 2016 award. So legally that's settled. Of course, it's a matter now of enforcement. The second dispute is a territorial dispute. Now, we won in the maritime dispute because we had a unified and coherent narrative. We anchored our argument on UNCLOS and international law. So the tribunal sided with us because we were very clear on the basis of our claim to maritime zones in the West Philippine Sea. On the territorial dispute, there are 5 disputant states. China is claiming everything in the Spratlys and claiming also Scarborough Shoal. Vietnam is claiming everything in the Spratlys. Malaysia is claiming about 10% of the Spratlys. The Philippines is claiming about 90% of the Spratlys. We call that the Calayan Island Group. And we are also claiming Scarborough Shoal. So the Scarborough Shoal is a dispute between China and the Philippines, while the Spratlys is a dispute between China, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam. Brunei has a small high tide feature along in front of its coast, but it's only between Brunei and China. Now, our problem is that in the territorial dispute, we don't have a unified, coherent narrative. What are the narratives that have been raised? You have the narrative of Tomas Cloma, that the Spratlys were discovered by Tomas Cloma in 1956. He claimed it in 1956. In other words, if you follow the Tomas Cloma narrative, we're saying we had sovereignty, we claimed the Spratlys starting 1956. That's rather too late in the game. Then there's the second narrative. Solicitor General Estelito Mendoza, the former Solicitor General under Marcos Sr., he said, we claimed the Spratlys starting 1978 when President Marcos Sr. issued PD 5096 creating the municipality of Kalayaan. If we start our narrative in 1978, we will also lose because that's too late. Then you have the third narrative of Father Bernas, the Dean of the Ateneo Law School, is now deceased, and also the narrative of Juan Ponce Enrile, who is now the Chief Presidential Legal Counsel. They are saying that the Philippines, the territory of the Philippines is limited to the islands within the Treaty of Paris lines of 1898. Islands outside the treaty lines do not belong to the Philippines. So Scarborough Shoal is outside, the KIG, Calayan Island Group, and the entire Spratlys are outside, so they're saying we do not have sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal or the Calayan Island Group under treaty law because it was not ceded by Spain to the US or by any other country. So if we follow these narratives, talo tayo. We cannot beat. Vietnam is claiming, pursuant to the 1933 annexation of the Spratlys by France. China is claiming that they own the South China Sea since 2,000 years ago, but the only evidence they can present is they made a formal claim to the Spratlys in 1947. So if we claim after 1947, China will beat us. So what should be our narrative? We have to go back to history, and this is what I'm discussing now. Why do we claim sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys? For our soldiers, members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, you are tasked to defend Philippine territory. Why do you say that the Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys and the KIG form part of Philippine territory? What is your basis? It's outside the treaty lines. We must know the basis because we have to present this to the world also. So if you look at the map, you see there, Scarborough Shoal is outside the treaty lines. The Calayan Island Group are outside the treaty lines. So I call this, there is this greatest misconception in Philippine history that Philippine territory is limited to the islands. Philippine territory is limited to the islands within the treaty lines. If you base it on the 1898 Treaty of Paris alone, that's correct. But there was a second treaty. Nakalimutan natin yung second treaty. Everybody forgot about the second treaty. The Treaty of Washington of 1900. When the Americans came here after signing the Treaty of Paris, they found out that there were many islands belonging to the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines of the Treaty of Paris. So the Americans finally convinced the Spaniards to sign a second treaty 2 years later, 1900. And in that second treaty, the Spaniards said, we cede also to the U.S. any and all islands of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines of the Treaty of Paris. So this treaty ceded to the U.S. any island of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines. Very clear. Now, Foreign Minister Wang Yi of China spoke at the CSIS think tank in Washington, D.C. This is the leading think tank in the U.S. And before diplomats from all over the world, he said, Philippine territory is defined by 3 treaties. The Treaty of 1898, Treaty of Paris, the Treaty of 1900, this is the Treaty of Washington, and the third is the 1930 treaty with the British, demarcating our boundary in southern Philippines. Areas in the west of 118 degrees east longitude do not belong to the Philippines. Nansha Island, that's the Spratlys, Wangyan Islands, that's Scarborough Shoal, are all in the west of 118 degrees east longitude. So he presented this to the audience. These are the lines of the Treaty of Paris. And Scarborough Shoal is outside, and the Spratlys are outside. So Philippine territory does not include Scarborough Shoal and the Calayan Island Group or the Spratlys. But there was, as I said, a second treaty. Now, even we agree with Wang Yi that Philippine territory is regulated by 3 treaties. We even placed it in our Constitution of 1935. Philippine territory, we have comprises of the territory ceded by the Treaty of Paris of 1898, the Treaty of Washington, and the treaty with the British. So we agree with Wang Yi. Tama ka. Philippine territory is regulated by 3 treaties. But where do we differ? Okay. We drill down to the 3 treaties. The 1898 treaty says Spain ceded to the U.S. the Philippine Islands lying within the following line. So ang nalipat lang are the islands within the treaty lines. Very clear. But the second treaty says Spain also ceded to the U.S. any and all islands belonging to the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines. So the misconception is now very clear. Hindi lang yung mga isla within the lines that were ceded. Meron pang mga isla na ceded in the Treaty of Washington, because when the Spaniards came here, ang dami palang mga islands lying outside the lines. So, So what are the islands of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines? Where is that document? Saan yung mapa showing that there are islands of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines? Well, we go to the maps. This is a 1734 Rio Velarde map. This is an official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime, the first official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. And it shows Scarborough. Ang tawag ng Scarborough noon, Panakot. And then it shows Los Baos de Paragua. Paragua was the old Spanish name for Palawan. Los Baos means shoals, the shoals of Palawan. Yun ang Spratlys. Why is this an official map? Because of this cartouche. That's the royal crown of Spain. If you see this cartouche, that is an official map of territory of Spain. Now, in 1792, Alessandro Malaspina came here. He was the head of the Spanish scientific expedition that went around the world.
Check.
And because Scarborough Shoal was very famous already, because in 1748, the British tea clipper ship Scarborough ran aground on Scarborough Shoal, on Panakot, and therefore the European cartographers renamed it Scarborough. So he went there to Scarborough, and he conducted a hydrographic survey with this plummet, no? This is a lead attached to a thin wire. You drop the lead and you can measure the depth of the rocks around Scarborough Shoal. This is the hydrographic survey, the first ever hydrographic survey of Scarborough Shoal. There's no others. China didn't even know that there was such a shoal. And we come to the second official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. This is Scarborough Shoal. And this is a very unique map because the survey of Malaspina was inserted here. This is the full map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. And only Scarborough Shoal has a depth sounding. All the rest of the islands have no depth soundings. Very unique map. Why was it? Because when Malaspina came here, he was accompanied by Joseph Espinosa, the map maker, chart maker of Malaspina. And Joseph Espinosa became the head of this agency, Dirección Hidrografía, that's the charting agency of Spain. And when he became the director, he made a map of the Philippines, and he inserted the map that he made with Malaspina when they came here to the Philippines in 1792. So very unique map because it only shows Scarborough Shoal here with depth soundings. All the islands have no depth soundings. And so we come to the final map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. I call this the Holy Grail map because this is the most detailed, most complete map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. And it shows Scarborough Shoal with depth soundings, the depth soundings of Malaspina. And you have here the entire Spratlys. You have here Pag-asa, Loita, Kota, Ituaba with depth soundings. All the islands of the Spratlys have depth soundings with names. This is 1875. So in 1875, Spain said, this is Philippine territory, all the islands here. So why do we say that we start with 1956, Tomas Cloma discovered the Spratlys? That's wrong, historically. Why do we start with 1978? We have the map here, 1875. Up to 1875, no country except Spain has claimed the Spratlys. So we have the 1734 map, 1808 and 1875. Nobody claimed the Spratlys or Scarborough Shoal except Spain in those maps. So this is really the map. If you have a house and lot, what is your proof of ownership? Your Torrens title. This is our Torrens title. Now, to cut this short, when the Americans came here, the Americans adopted this map 4 times, no? From 1899 to 1902. When the Americans came here, they carried a map. The map attached to the Treaty of Paris. But the map was erroneous. It did not include Scarborough Shoal as part of the Philippines. It did not include the Spratlys, the entire Spratlys. It included only part of the Spratlys. It excluded Cagayan de Sulu and Cebuto. So the Spaniards, the Spanish garrisons in Cagayan de Sulu and Cebuto refused to vacate. They said, we're not part of the cession. If you draw the coordinates, because the Treaty of Paris had a map and had in the text the geographical coordinates of the lines, longitude, latitude. If you draw the lines, the lines do not jibe with the map. So the Americans decided to adopt the 1875 Carta General of Spain, because this is the most complete map with depth soundings all over the Philippines. So the Americans only added the military telegraph lines, cable lines, the Eastern Company lines, military departments. And you can see here, this is the edge of Philippine territory in the map. You have Tito, that's Pag-asa. You have Loita, Cota, we possess this. Tito we possess. The second largest island, that's about 37 hectares. This one is about 8. And then you have Ituaba, the largest island, about 46, 47 hectares, presently occupied by Taiwan. So, in the map, you have Scarborough Shoal, 1734. We already claimed it as part of Philippine territory. It reiterated that in 1808 and finally in the 1875. And this is the Calayan Island Group now under PD 5096. Pag-asa is here, Loita, and Ituaba, and it's about the same. If you put it beside the 1875, this is the edge of Philippine territory. This is the edge of Philippine territory. This is our present-day map. Pag-asa, that's Tito. Cota, that's Loita. Ituaba, that's Ligao. So more or less, it jives. So why do we start our narrative in 1956 or 1978? We have all these maps, official maps of Philippine territory. So there was this, so when the Americans came here, the Spanish garrison in Cagayan de Sulu and Cebuto did not vacate because they said we are not part of the cession. I'll show you the defect of the map. Okay, this is the treaty had the text, the coordinates, longitude, latitude. If you connect all the geographical coordinates, the Treaty of Paris lines do not turn sharply to the left to include the Spratlys. It turns downward to exclude entirely the Spratlys. And it turns sharply to the right here to exclude Cagayan de Sulu and Cebuto. So the Spanish garrison in Cagayan de Sulu and Cebuto refused to vacate. They said, we are not part of the session. And so the Americans and Spaniards had to negotiate again for the second treaty. And that's why the second treaty of Washington is very clear. The second treaty is very clear. Treaty of Washington of 1900. Spain also cedes to the U.S. any and all islands belonging to the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines of the Treaty of Paris. So, it's very clear. The second treaty ceded to the U.S. all islands of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines. So, that debunks the misconception that the Philippine territory is limited to the islands within the treaty lines. There was a second treaty. We forgot about the second treaty. This is not taught to us. We were only being taught the Treaty of Paris lines. That's why the Chinese also think that way, because that's what we depict to the world, the Treaty of Paris lines. It has become iconic. When you speak of the Philippines, they only look at the treaty lines. But there was a second treaty. So, now, what is our frame of reference when we say, what are those islands of the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines of the Treaty of Paris? Yun ang tanong ngayon. Ano yung isla outside the treaty lines? Where is the document? Where is the map? We go to the three maps. The 1734, it shows Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys, part of Philippine territory. We go to the 1808 map, and finally to the Holy Grail map, the most complete and detailed map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. So when the Americans came here, they threw away the map of the Treaty of Paris, and they adopted the Spanish map of 1875. In 1899, they issued the first edition, 1900, the second edition, 1901, the third, 1902, the fourth edition. And that's why the Americans were so knowledgeable about this map. And when the Americans sent their advisors to China to advise the Kuomintang under Chiang Kai-shek, they probably showed the Kuomintang a copy of the map. That's why the Kuomintang in 1947, when they claimed the Spratlys, the first time they ever claimed the Spratlys, they said the Spratlys are also being claimed by the Philippines because they probably saw the map. The Americans showed them. So this is the map that we should be showing to everybody, because this is the map that shows the entire Philippine territory. And that's why we have to have a common narrative. I start our narrative 1734, showing this map. And in the famous island of Palmas case, well, first of all, there is in there is a in the famous island of Palmas case, Islas Palmas is shown in the 1875 map. But after discovering Islas Palmas, the Spaniards never returned. It was the Dutch from Indonesia that went there, signed a treaty with the locals, the natives. The natives accepted and acknowledged that Netherlands had sovereignty over them, and they flew the Dutch flag. One day, Governor General Governor General Leonard Wood went to Mindanao aboard a steamship, and he saw the Dutch flag flying in the island. He said, "That island belongs to us." That's in the 1875 Carta General. So there was an arbitration between the US and Netherlands, and in the arbitration, the Americans submitted the 1875 map. The Americans said, this exhibit, the map, is both an American official and Spanish official map. It shows that the Islas Palmas is part of Philippine territory. So there you are. The Americans said this is an official map of Philippine territory, the Islas Palmas case. So there is, this is Sarangani, and here is Islas Palmas. So the important of this case is that the Americans said this is Philippine territory. This is the map of Philippine territory. So what should we do now? We should show to the world we should show to the world when we show our map, we should show there, we should put a box that Scarborough Shoal is part of Philippine territory because of the Treaty of Washington. And the Spratlys are part of Philippine territory because of the Treaty of Washington. What I'm trying to say here is we have to agree on our common narrative. Where do we start our claim? When? Do we start with Tomas Cloma? Do we start in 1978? Do we say that we're still studying it? Or do we go back to 1734? Because iba-ibang pinagsasabi natin. Last month, I was in Palawan. I gave a lecture, this one, but there was somebody who spoke before me, and he said, we are claiming the Calayan Island Group because it was discovered by Tomas Cloma in 1956. If we start in 1956, talo na tayo. There is no common narrative. And that is why in foreign journals, they say the Philippines has the weakest claim because we start with Tomas Cloma, 1956. I've read a lot of law journals abroad, in Harvard, in other universities, and they say the Philippines has the weakest claim because they start with Tomas Cloma. We must decide what is our common narrative now. That is the first thing, because we are now in the territorial dispute. We won the maritime dispute. We had a common narrative. We based it on international law. China based it in historic right, historic title. They lost. We have to have a common narrative that is based on law, based on history, and factual. And we have it, but we have not articulated it correctly. So I end my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Carpio, sir. Indeed. Napakapuno ng informasyon and nagpapasalamat po kami sa inyo. Oh, one last short question. Quick question. Okay. There's a quick question here from
Justice, pasensya na, susulitin lang po namin ngayong gabi. Kung sino po yung may gustong itanong, sir, please, perhaps somebody could hand him a mic. Sir, ito na lang po.
Thank you. Sir General Padilla, retired. First off, glad to be working with you in many of your advocacies. And precisely because of that map, the fundraising led by former Congressman and Attorney Manalo, where we also help, is an effort that will be continuing, and we'll do another one next year so that we can reproduce those maps for the education of our youth, especially, so that they grow up with the proper facts. Now, just a clarification, sir. Now that we have all of these documents, now that we have all our narrative and facts straight, I'm sure you have taken the conversation to DFA so that they can converse with our allies and the community of nations to bring them the real meat of why we are adamant about our claims in the WPS. Has DFA taken this as official lines for the government? Is my first question. And second, the map has been donated to Malacanang recently, and we have to be very careful to preserve that so that that will be our proof. Then, having heard all of the things that you presented, I'm sure that the Chinese are also doing their fact check, and I'm sure that they have seen that we are correct. Second question, have you heard from the Chinese side and how they have reacted to this new developments that have been in the offing?
Thank you
sir.
for that question. Well, I'm still trying to, I'm talking now with people in DFA and DepEd, in the National Historical Commission, that we have to meet and decide what is our narrative. When do we begin our story? Do we begin our story in 1734, 1956, 1978, or we're still looking for the legal doctrine to claim Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys? We have to agree because this has to be an official act of government. Because as far as foreign legal scholars are concerned, they're saying that our story starts with 1956 with Tomas Coloma, because that has been our narrative that has been announced by the DFA before. So we have to sit down again and decide. We have not yet decided. I cannot decide this alone, but I can explain it. But this has to be an official act of government. And everybody must be on board. We must be on the same page because the Chinese are quoting Stelito Mendoza, are quoting Senator Enrile, and quoting also Father Bernas. And that's why law journals abroad say we have the weakest claim because we start with Tomas Coloma. We have to sit down, and maybe we should include the armed forces. We should sit down and agree that this is our narrative. China has a narrative since 2,000 years ago. Of course, they cannot prove it. The narrative of Vietnam is they succeeded France. France claimed the Spratlys in 1933. That's well documented. So we have to come together and agree on our narrative. Thank you.
Next post that includes the Department of Education.
Yes. Yeah. I've also talked to Secretary Sani Angara that we have to sit down
And teach.
and decide what's our narrative.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Major Fuentebella, sir, from the JAGS Reserves. First, the President already mentioned in one of his speeches, which you acknowledged also in your succeeding interview online, that the President's mention of the Treaty of Washington is a great step forward. But I don't think you acknowledge it still as not an official act. And on the second point, sir, if I may add another question, what do you see is the difference, or is there any conflict between the arbitral award that was given to us and the theory of utilizing the Treaty of Washington, as well as the 3 maps that are related to the treaty? Is there any conflict, sir? Because in the arbitral award, there was a mention that it is an exclusive economic zone, whereas in the treaties mentioned, like the Treaty of Washington, it mentions territory, which is definitely different from exclusive economic zone.
Well, thank you for
sir.
that. In his speech at Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, President Marcos Jr. said, we are claiming our territory is defined by the Treaty of Paris of 1898 as clarified by the Treaty of Washington. He said that. And that sets the policy. But that has not been translated because there's no common narrative among all the departments. We have to agree that this is our common narrative because some people in the government are still saying it's Tomas Cloma. We start our story with Tomas Cloma. We have to be very clear because the territorial dispute is now in the forefront, and we have to have a common narrative. We cannot beat China if we have inconsistent, we have different narratives. Now, the arbitral award does not conflict because that is a maritime dispute. This is a territorial dispute. It's governed by separate sets of laws. Under UNCLOS, the term archipelago has a very precise meaning. There must be a water-to-land ratio of between 1:1 and 9:1. That does not apply to the 3 treaties because these treaties were entered into before UNCLOS and under the doctrine of intertemporal law, doctrine of international law. The treaty must be interpreted in the light of the law in force at the time the treaty was signed. And of course, at that time, there was no definition of archipelago. The archipelago should be understood as the parties understood it. Thank you.
We still have room for one last question. Oh, yes, sir.
Good evening, Justice Carpio.
2 more? No, one. Okay.
I am Colonel Enrico Ileto from the Public Affairs Division of the G7, the CMO of AFP. I've been following your lectures ever since, even before us winning the arbitral award. My question is related to the narrative that we need for this West Philippine Sea. I remember that just a few weeks back, 2 laws very much related to our topic today were enacted: the Maritime Zones Act and the Sea Lanes Act. And I read in the news that the Philippines is waiting for the official map to be issued by NAMRIA. And so my question is, how and what should be do you think should be depicted on those maps, and how would it be of impact to the narrative that we will be coming up for this West Philippine Sea?
Thank you for that. The draft of the map of our maritime zones that was prepared by NAMRIA does not mention the Treaty of Washington. So I went to the director of NAMRIA and explained to him that if you do not include the Treaty of Washington, we cannot explain why we have sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys. So I think when they finally issue the final map, they will include the Treaty of Washington because they omitted it. And I have explained this to the DOJ, to the NICA, and to the NAMRIA that we have to put there the Treaty of Washington because they listed the Treaty of Paris, then they jumped to the Treaty of 1930 with the British. They omitted the Treaty of Washington. I said, we cannot omit that. Otherwise, the Chinese will again say, we don't have sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys. Thank you.
Sorry, just the last. Why the emission? You think was it?
Well, I think because we forgot about the Treaty of Washington. That's why when I've been explaining the Treaty of Washington, and that's why it reached also the president because of that.
Great. On that note, I'd like to thank Justice Carpio for
Jamila?
your time.
Just a footnote,
one
Chief
more
Justice.
question.
Just a
Okay.
footnote. It's not a question. Because apparently in one of your slides, it indicated you showed a part of our own constitution as having reflected and stated that the basis of our territory includes the Treaty of Washington. So can that, because the Constitution is the Constitution, is the firm basis of all policies that will emanate from the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. Can that be the basis? I mean, to me, it's very clear. That should be the basis of everything and all narratives that we should henceforth be churning out. And klaro sa akin, ewan ko po sa gobyerno.
Yeah, that's correct. That's why I show the Constitution.
At
Because
saka sir, hindi pala nagbasa ng Constitution si JPE, si Estelita Mendoza at saka si Father Benas.
that's why it's there. We mentioned the Treaty of Washington, but we forgot why there was a Treaty of Washington. Nakalimutan natin. We know it's there, but we don't know the significance. We've forgotten the significance of the Treaty of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Final. On that note, I'm going to close this panel.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Again, a big round of applause for Justice Carpio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Justice Carpio, and of course, Miss Jamela. And mga katropa, no? Talaga namang tayo sa ating talakayan kay Justice Carpio. And of course, next, we'll be moving on to our next interviewer.
Yes, we shall now have another professor, Professor Don McLean Hill. He is a Manila-based geopolitical analyst, author, and lecturer at the Department of International Studies at the De La Salle University. His expertise focuses on Philippine foreign policy, India, Southeast Asia relations, and Indo-Pacific security. He has contributed extensively to the field through books, book chapters, peer-reviewed journal articles, newspaper columns, and commentary pieces published in leading international affairs outlets, including The Diplomat, The National Interest, Nikkei Asia, RUSI, and the East-West Center.
Ayan, thank you so much, Katropang Bell. And now, para naman po sa papanayam sa ating
Yes, para sa mga
interviewee for
katanungan.
this evening ay si Captain Lloyd Cassis. He is a Philippine Navy captain, a graduate of the United States Coast Guard Academy, belonging to class 1992. With more than 30 years of active military service, his education and experiences enabled him to learn in-depth knowledge on naval operations and national security. He was the executive officer of the Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Plans, J5, before assuming his current designation as the Deputy Commander of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Reserve Command. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Cassis and Professor McLean Hill.
Hello. So once again, a round of applause to Professor Don McLean Gill. It's an honor to be in front this evening. Sir, just to start off and let the ball rolling, just your initial thoughts on the topic you were given to you.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. It's a true honor to be here. Maraming pong salamat. And, we have to understand that foreign policy analysis is, in fact, a fluid dimension when it comes to statecraft. And when we talk about the contemporary state of foreign policy today, Philippine foreign policy, we have to recognize, of course, that it was far from linear. Our foreign policy calculations, particularly in line with the security interests in the West Philippine Sea, have been far from consistent ever since the beginning of our independence. So when we talk about our turn to maritime security, that pretty much evolved in 2010 with a mere focus on territorial defense and obviously maritime security. However, if you look at it today, right, there are four particular elements that I'd like to use to describe our contemporary foreign policy. One is that it is people-centric. When I talk about people-centric, we have reoriented, Manila has reoriented its foreign policy to ensure, particularly in the West Philippine Sea, that all actions taken are for the benefit and the security of the inalienable right of every Filipino to gain access to the resources within our lawful waters. So this is why, for instance, the comprehensive archipelagic defense concept was tailored based on that premise. When we talk about people-centric, we also see that there is a growing support among the public, the Filipino public, towards what the government, towards what our brave hearts in the military and the Coast Guard are doing to protect the West Philippine Sea. And in fact, if we look into the national surveys, we see the constant increase because people, the Filipinos, have understood that this is in fact a national issue that needs to be understood and talked about. So we see that convergence between public and civil society actors as well. The Transparency Initiative is something that is not just towards the sea. We have to understand that China's expansionist ambitions go beyond the physical domain. We have been quite targeted when it comes to malign information operations. But because of the cohesion of public support, for instance, we have been able to show our resilience compared to other countries in the Indian Ocean region, the Western Indian Ocean, who have succumbed to malign information operations. So in that sense, we can see that resilience. The last point I'd like to make is that we are defense-driven. Our foreign policy based on the rules-based order, based on international law, where we have put UNCLOS, the 2016 arbitral ruling, front and center. We have also demonstrated our agency. Critics would say that we are merely pawns in the US-China power competition. This is not about US and China. This is about the Philippines defending what is rightfully its own against an expansionist power. We remain open to open lines of communication with China, but we have shown that we would not stand quiet when it comes to the integrity of our sovereignty and sovereign rights. We still have a long way to go to institutionalize everything, but I think that this is a good start.
Wow, thank you very much. Let me, before I open the floor to questions, I'd like to, this question has been languishing in my mind. Given the strategic importance of the West Philippine Sea, and we've listened to a very good lecture earlier by the good Justice Carpio, and the other related territories, how do you now assess the actions of government agencies such as the Department of National Defense through the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Department of Transportation and Communication through the Philippine Coast Guard, the Department of Agriculture through the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and the DFA in reinforcing our maritime claims?
Well, clearly there is no perfect position, there is no perfect approach, but we could see a lot of developments taking place when it comes to the solidification of a common position. But of course that, it takes time to maintain and to consolidate an effective unified policy. For instance, China's expansionism did not only just begin 10 or 20 years ago. It started in 1949. It had been consistent in what it has been doing, while we have been trying to reorient recently, and old habits die hard. So in this regard, it would take a lot of, it would be a challenge, of course. The challenge and the opportunity is for us to continue doing what we are doing, to make sure that each agency Sea is able to incorporate the security of the West Philippine Sea from a food security point of view, particularly from a national defense point of view, from a foreign affairs, external relations point of view, to put it front and center. And this is why there have been several important demonstrations of this realization within the country. When we talk about the midterm elections, for instance, one of the key takeaways is that majority of Filipinos across several different national surveys have shown that they would want to select leaders that would be understanding of the rights, the sovereign rights and sovereignty of the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea. But again, the challenge here is to maintain consistency. Expansionist powers often take advantage of inconsistencies. We've seen that in the past. So the challenge now is to maintain that and to institutionalize it, to bring in as many actors as possible, civil and public, to ensure that not even the radical political headwinds can change our trajectory for our waters.
Thank you, Professor Gill. Now, let me open the floor to questions. Anyone who would like to shoot the first question? Well, while we're waiting for the first question on the floor, let me shoot the second question.
Sige, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. About 2 days ago, the reciprocal access agreement with Japan has been ratified by Congress. Very simple question. How do you think China would react to this?
Well, here's the thing. Being an expansionist power, China would be very frustrated when it comes to anything and everything that we will do to protect what is rightfully ours based on international law. You know, what is quite ironic here is that, you know, when it came to the lobbying of UNCLOS in the 1980s, for instance, China was front and center in also lobbying for the need of an exclusive economic zone. But here today, you see the same China disregarding the concept of the exclusive economic zone for its 9, 10, 11 dash line. So in that regard, we see a huge disconnect. Now, when it comes to the reciprocal access agreement, this is an opportunity for us to hasten the operations of our military-to-military collaboration with Japan, making it more efficient, making it more speedy in terms of crisis. So this is very important, and it also converges with the VFA we have with the US, the status of forces agreement we have with Australia. Now, the French, are looking towards it. Even New Zealand is looking towards it. The Philippines has served as a proactive fulcrum in the Western Pacific to serve as an important rules-based stakeholder for cooperation East and West. We even have the Czech Republic coming in here and saying, we want to work with you. So in that regard, that is the agency. This is not us being the pawn to major power competition, but us asserting that we are an integral player in the Indo-Pacific. And that RAA is in fact an important element that we have to uphold.
Thank you, Professor Gill. I recognize our former J5 General Resi Padilla, sir.
Thank you. Professor, my question actually is it's a scenario. You may want to answer it or not. But in the context of what we're going through right now in this part of our world, and the active geopolitical events that are occurring elsewhere, like in between Ukraine and Russia, now in the Middle East, hopefully it pacifies because of the onset of the discussion between Hezbollah and the Israelis. But that said, do you think the reason why the Chinese are very aggressive is that they are looking for an opportunity that while the US is distracted elsewhere, and as they are transitioning to a new government, they are looking for an opportunity perhaps to initiate an active engagement to make through their threat of claiming back Taiwan? And the second one is, to my mind, we have not engaged Taiwan as much, and to the advantage of the Philippines, I guess we should go in that direction.
your thoughts about that.
Thank you very much, General. And these are very important questions that require comprehensive answers as well. We talk about China's behavior. Yes, China has been showing a lot of insecurity lately, particularly when it comes to consolidating its so-called sphere of influence in the Western Pacific. In fact, that I've noted since 1949, China had always been insecure about its dominance and position, to the point that, in fact, in the late 20th century, it went to the extent of providing territorial concessions to Myanmar and Pakistan just to make sure that they don't side with the US against China. The declaration on the conduct of parties on the South China Sea in the early 2000s was merely the way that China wanted to illustrate that it was willing to resolve the overlapping issues in the greater South China Sea, because it did not want to upset the West, because it was gaining clearly from the West through technology and economic development. But today the state, as you have mentioned, General, has become very competitive to the point where miscalculation is heightened. And in this regard, this could be a positive or a negative for China. We've seen in 1995, for instance, how China was able to exploit our relationship with the U.S. in terms of the bases to occupy Mischief Reef and turn it into a full-fledged military base, for instance. The fishing ban in the 90s, for instance, was also taking place when the U.S. was sort of iffy about its commitments towards the South China Sea. But today we see that the stakes have become too high. China will likely look for any opportunity to solidify its expansionism, but China is also aware of its military limitations. In 2008, that is when China began to develop its two-ocean strategy into the Indian Ocean region. But unfortunately, despite its far seas operations, it is still very constrained in its power projection there. It is geographically advantageous in the Western Pacific. So just as they seek to spread U.S. forces thin, my argument here is to spread Chinese forces thin. We are not doing much in the other side of the Indo-Pacific. The Malaccan dilemma is all about maintaining Chinese presence in the Western Indian Ocean. The idea here is to put strain on the resources of China in both sides to be able to at least challenge it more effectively through asymmetrical dimensions. And with regards to Taiwan, sir, you are absolutely right. We need to engage more. And we've been talking about this on the sidelines. During my interviews in Taiwanese TV channels, they are using the term West Philippine Sea. So there is that support despite government political positions elsewhere. We see that there's more sympathy to our cause compared to their northern neighbor. So in that regard, we could see that level of synergy, and we can work on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that answer. Any final questions on the floor? No more going once, going twice. Well, once again, thank you, Professor Gill, for your time. Let's give him a big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Captain Cassis and Professor Gill. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be proceeding with our next resource person, Dr. Fernando Seringan. Dr. Fernando Seringan is a distinguished marine geologist specializing in coastal and marine geology with a focus on the Philippines' dynamic coastal systems. A former professor and scientist at the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute. His research has been instrumental in addressing the challenges faced by coastal communities, offering scientific insights for disaster risk reduction and sustainable coastal management. A dedicated scientist and advocate, Dr. Seringan has been actively engaged in collaborative initiatives that bridge science and policy. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Seringan. Sir.
Magandang hapon. I'll shift, no? Mag-i-English ako at magtatagalog ako. Kung meron tayong participants sa ibang lugar na mas bihasa sa Tagalog, baka mas maigi na damihan ko ng konti ang Tagalog. Sa mga hindi marunong mag-Pilipino, ang aking mga slides ay nasa English. At yun ay para sa inyo. Karagatan natin, napakalawak. At ang karagatan mismo ay yaman na natin at ang mga narito din, nandun sa dagat, ay yaman din natin. Ipapakita ko yung bahagi ng yung biological aspects, pero bahagi din ng aking field sa geology, ano ba yung mga yaman dito. At bahagi ay nabanggit na kanina tungkol sa hydrocarbons at palalawakin ko lang ng konti o magpapakita lang ako ng larawan mamaya. Next slide please. Or can I control the slides instead? So, marami tayong coral reef sa Pilipinas. 35% ay nasa West Philippine Sea. At mahalaga ang coral reef. Bakit? Alam na ng maraming sayantista na mga 25% ng marine life kasama ang isda. Bahagi ng kanilang buhay ay doon mismo sa coral reef, no, na i-spend nila. So, dahil sa 25% ng marine life spends their life, no, in the marine environment, kung ang coral reef ay masira, malaki ang magiging epekto nito sa marine life. At dahil tayo ay dependent, food and other things sa marine life, apektado din tayo. Next please. Maraming isda sa West Philippine Sea. Bakit? Ang isang malaking dahilan dahil sa coral reef. Ito data, atras ka muna kapatid, masyadong mabilis. Itong data na ito ay mula sa trabaho ni Polly and Liang 2020, data na hanggang 2014. Na sinasabi nung data, up to 2014, umaabot ng 27% ng commercial fish na nahuli ay nanggagaling mula sa West Philippine Sea. In the past few years, bumaba na ito, mga 17 or even just 12%. Bakit? Kasi ang dami-dami ng fleet ng inchik na nangingisda sa West Philippine Sea, kaya yung mga bangka natin na mas maliliit, konti din lang ang nahuhuli. Next please. Dito bale, ang lahat ng may hugis na parang pabilog, all of those are atolls. They are all coral reefs. At may mga lugar na kung saan may mga isla na nabubuo dahil naiipon yung debris ng mga corals. At ang isang halimbawa ay Pag-asa Island, no, na kung saan meron tayong runway. So lahat ng ito, coral reef yan bale. At ito ay isa sa mga malawak na karagatan na nakakahuli tayo ng isda. Bakit maraming isda? Ulitin ko, dahil maraming coral reef. Bakit traditional fishing ground ng Scarborough? Ang Scarborough ay isa ring coral reef. Next please. Ang Scarborough nakaitim, no? Para pag nag-close up kayo dyan sa Google Earth, makikita nyo yung features ng Scarborough Shoal. Ito bali ay nakatungtong sa matandang bulkan at binanggit ko yan dahil babalikan ko yung issue na yon o yung matter na yon maya-maya. Malapit siya sa Pilipinas, no? Mas malapit kaysa sa sa Kalayaan Island Group. Kung kaya, mas madalas din siyang mapuntahan ng ating mangingisda. Mahalaga sa atin ang coral reefs. Ang anumang mangyari sa coral reefs, apektado ang kabuhayan ng mga Pilipino. Next, please. Sunod na pong slide. Ano ang alam natin tungkol sa mga isda sa mga coral reef sa West Philippine Sea? Ito ay dato na lumabas noong 2011 mula sa mga surveys na ginawa mula mid-1990s hanggang 2011. At least 484 species of reef fishes had been recorded in the West Philippine Sea. Madami ito. At nadagdagan pa ito nung recent surveys 2015 to 2021. Dinagdagan ng mga dives, no? Nagda-dive ang mga biologists, naghahatak sila ng panukat every 50 meters, tinitingnan nila Ano ang mga uri ng isda na naroon? Gaano kadami ang isda? At by 2021, tumaas na ng 530 yung uri ng isda na nakikita sa West Philippine Sea. Ang sinasabi lang nito, kung dadagdagan pa natin yung effort, mas makikita natin na mas marami pa palang uri ng isda. And that is what we call yung tinatawag na biodiversity. Mahalaga na maraming iba't ibang uri kasi mas resilient sila sa stresses. No? Next please. Seaweed, kinakain natin ang ilan sa mga seaweed. Merong 693 species ng seaweed na nakita sa West Philippine Sea, and that already represents 65% of the total number of seaweed species in the Philippines. At itong mga surveys na ginawa na ito ay doon pa lang sa mabababaw na katubigan, na kapag bumaba ang tubig during low tide, pwede mo lang lakarin ang reef flat, doon lang nangongolekta. Konti pa lamang ang samples na nakuha sa mga 10 meters, no, ang lalim, at nag-uumpisa pa lang tayo na tingnan yung mga mas malalalim pa. Tataas at tataas ang numero na ito. Pero para saan ba ang seaweed? Kinakain natin ang seaweed. Ang seaweeds ay source din ng gamot na maaari natin na gamitin. Dito sa West Philippine Sea, alam na natin na merong 148 commercially important na seaweed species. Kaya mahalaga ang West Philippine Sea sa atin dahil sa mga ito. Next please. Giant clams sa Pilipinas, ito yung yung mga iba't ibang giant clams, Tridacna gaigas, ito yung pinakamalaki. Sa kabuuan ng Pilipinas, alam natin na merong 8 uri ng giant clam. Meron kaming ginawang survey sa Pag-asa Island. No, at sa Pag-asa Island, next slide please, 7 ang nakita, ang wala lamang ay yung Tridacna derasa. Madaming uri ng giant clam ang nakikita sa Pag-asa at sa Pilipinas. Next slide please. Can you click that please for me? Okay, next slide please. Okay. At sa mga surveys na nagawa ng ibang researchers, na-establish na madaming uri ng giant clams at maraming sea cucumbers sa West Philippine Sea. Ang sea cucumber, ito yung balat-balat. Kinakain natin ito. Ginagamit ito ng Koreano sa beauty products, no? Yung pampabanat ng mukha. No? Nakaya rin naman nating gawin. Diversity of octocorals, ito yung ibang uri ng coral. Pinakamataas ito sa West Philippine Sea kumpara sa ibang lugar sa Indo-Pacific region. But, may nakalagay na but, wala pa tayong masyadong alam tungkol sa mga mas malalalim na bahagi ng ating mga karagatan. No? Hindi lamang sa West Philippine Sea, maski na sa mga karagatan na nasa inter-island na channels. Next please. Click please. Masyado namang mabilis sa atin. Okay? Go back please. May ginawa kaming survey sa Philippine rice, no, na internationally tinatawag na Benham rice. Nagpunta kami doon sa Benham Bank at saka sa Kalantas. Nagbaba kami ng camera, sensors. Sa malalalim na bahagi nito, ito ay halos 2 kilometro. About 2,000 meters. Ano ang makikita natin sa lalim na yon? Makikita dito merong parang malaking bato at nakakapit sa malaking bato, madaming invertebrates, madaming starfish, may coral, may sea whips. No, malalim na ito. First time ito na meron tayong larawan sa bahaging ito ng Pilipinas. Next please. Maulit yon doon sa nawalang litrato. Pakibalik po, please. Ito, ang mga ito, hindi pa namin na-identify ang lahat ng organisms na nakita namin doon sa mga video. Wala tayong expertise. Wala din kaming actual samples. Ito ay mga video lamang. Pero bakit ko siya pinapakita? Ito ay nasa eastern side ng Pilipinas. Ito ay sa mga volcanic na terrain. Nabanggit ko kanina na ang Scarborough ay nakatungtong sa lumang bulkan. Kung ano ang pwede nating makita biological-wise sa eastern side ng Pilipinas, pwede rin nating makita sa western side ng Pilipinas, sa West Philippine Sea. But why bother? No? Next slide, please. Sources of novel compounds. These are for shallow water. Marine organisms, through time, these are the patents that were issued for the compounds found in marine organisms. There is a race, merong karera na mapag-aralan, masampulan ang deep sea kasi it's something unique. Iba yung pressure, iba yung temperature, iba yung chemistry, and therefore, pwedeng yung biological makeup, yung genetic signature, yung chemical compounds, pwedeng iba din, at pwedeng may iba't ibang applications na pwedeng makuha sa kanila. Kaya sa ngayon ay may karera na nangyayari internationally para makapag-sample, para mapag-aralan sa laboratory yung mga samples na nakuha mula sa malalalim na bahagi ng dagat. Ginagawa na ba natin yon? Hindi pa. Wala pa tayong kakayanan. Next please. Balik tayo sa mababaw na bahagi. Gumagalaw ang tubig dagat. At dahil gumagalaw ang tubig dagat, yung mga particles na galing sa coral reefs pwedeng kumalat sa iba't ibang lugar. Dito sa model na ito, pinapakita, kapag ka meron kang mga larvae ng isda, larvae ng coral, mula sa West Philippine Sea, specifically in the KIG, saan siya pupunta? Saan siya kakalat? Makikita niyo dito ang kanyang pagkalat at saan yung pinakamaraming particles na mapupuntahan niya. Ito bali yung western side ng Palawan. Ano ang sinasabi nito sa atin? Mahalaga na source ng larvae, ng recruits, no? Ang KIG para sa Palawan mismo. Pero hindi lang sa Palawan, makikita natin na may mga pumapasok sa karagatan ng Sulu Sea, internal seas, kumakalat siya sa northern coast ng Luzon, and actually all over the South China Sea. What does that tell us? It tells us na mahalaga ang KIG para sa health ng coral reefs all over the South China Sea, but very important para sa Palawan, para sa Pilipinas. Ano ang mangyayari sa recruits na ito kung masisira ang coral reefs? Mababawasan din ang pwedeng ma-recruit na mga isda, ma-recruit na mga coral mula doon sa KIG. Next please. Na-test na yon. Go back one slide, please. Actual samples. No, yung kulay blue na starfish, yung tridacna, sinampulan sila sa iba't ibang lugar. Ginawa ng pag-aaral, ano yung genetic connection? At nakita na may mataas na connection ang mga linkya, yung starfish, at saka itong tridacna crocea na nakuha doon sa KIG, doon sa mga nakikita din sa Palawan, hindi lang sa western side, kundi dito din sa eastern side. Kaya mahalaga na maganda yung kalusugan ng mga coral reef sa KIG. Next please. Nabanggit na kanina yung hydrocarbons, no, yung malampaya gas. Pero ito ay lahat ang mga pula, ang mga naka-square doon, those are mga iba't ibang lugar na kung saan may mga kumpanya na humahawak ng karapatan para ma-explore, para ma-develop yung hydrocarbon field. meron talaga dito sa West Philippine Sea. Kaya kailangan natin ng energy, kailangan natin ng fuel, nandiyan yung tested na alam na natin na meron dahil sa Malampaya. Bukod dito sa field na ito, may bago ngayon na source ng hydrocarbon, yung tinatawag nilang methane clathrate. Meron ba tayo sa Pilipinas? There are indicators that we have them in the Philippines. Next slide, please. In a joint survey with Taiwan, makita nyo yung coastline ng Luzon, Karagatan Bale. Makikita nyo yung may mga kulay na blue, red, green. Those are places where there are indicators based on seismic data na merong methane clathrates. Ito ay pwedeng source ng methane in the future. Fuel natin, no? Kapag ubos na talaga yung gas sa Malampaya. Next, please. Deep sea metals, meron ba tayo nito? Iba't ibang uri, polymetallic, na nodules, sulfides, cobalt-rich crust. Saan siya nakikita? Nakikita sila sa mga lugar na kung saan naka-expose sa malalim na bahagi ng dagat yung volcanic rocks. Saan makikita ang volcanic rocks? Nabanggit ko na kanina ang Scarborough. Ang Cagayan Ridge sa Sulu Sea, sa Sibuyan meron din, at ang Philippine Rice area. Next slide please. Merong isang mapa. Ito, available ito sa internet. Mag-search ka lang, lalabas ang mapa na ito. At nandyan ang Pilipinas, may tuldok doon mismo sa gilid ng Pilipinas. Yang tuldok na yan ay malapit sa Scarborough Shoal. Bakit may tuldok dyan? Kasi meron nang nakapag-aral. Sino ang nakapag-aral? Hindi tayo. Next slide please. This is from the study that was published by Zhong and others. May mga sampling points, pati doon mismo sa loob ng teritoryo natin. No? Sa EEZ natin, S9, 44 TKD, 40 TKD, those are samples na sa atin na. I wonder kung merong permit yung nag-sample dito. Next slide please. Meron din mga samples na malapit sa Scarborough mismo, yung HIDE 104, and then yung ZSQD 251A1, 253A. May analysis na ito, na-publish na ito, at sa na-publish na data, ang daming rare earth elements. Plus the basic metals that we need. No? And these are the metals that we need for the type of yung technological developments. Kontrolado ng China ngayon ang rare earth elements, pero ang dami natin sanang rare earth elements. Pero alam nyo, ang isang resource na pinamimigay lang natin basically ay yung magnetite. Ang magnetite, dinideclare as source of iron, but it has vanadium, it has titanium. Ano ang halaga ng mga yon? Ay mas mahalaga sila sa iron. But not only vanadium and titanium. Ang dami ng analysis, ginawa din ng Pilipino na magpapakita ang daming rare earth elements. Bakit kaya willing ang China na mag-under the table sa ang dami-daming deals kung iron ore lang ang kukunin? They're not just interested in the iron. Of course, they want that. But you have vanadium, you have titanium, and you have rare earth elements. But we're practically just giving away those resources. Next, please. Well, technologically, no, advanced na sila. And ito bale, China's deep sea motivation for claiming sovereignty, we think, and we agree with this article, they want to dominate deep sea and its wealth for rare earth metals. Then why else would they be doing those studies? Just about a month ago, may cruises, research vessels ng China naglo-loiter sa eastern part ng Philippines. That's within the Philippine Rice area. And they have done that in other years as well. They've been surveying the area for what? Probably, very likely, for rare earth metals as well. Next, please. Ang laki ng development nila. Meron na nga silang submersible. Meron na silang ilalatag sa deep sea floor at ito ay magbabato ng signal every so often. In shallow water, the signal binabato nila real time. Makakahabol ba tayo? Kailangan nating humabol. We've been pushing for the national government to get into deep sea research. Kailangan natin yon. Sa ngayon, wala. We need to train people. We need to invest in the facilities. Next, please. And I think ito na lang. We can manage that which we understand, pero to understand, we need data. To have data, kailangan natin i-generate ito, kailangan natin ng research work. No? To do research, kailangan natin ng tao, kailangan ng funding, kailangan ng access. We've been doing work in the West Philippine Sea, and in the most recent cruises, we've had difficulties in moving around. Nalilimit kami ng mga barko ng China. Hindi natin mapapag-aralan ang gusto nating mapag-aralan kung hindi tayo makapunta doon. I think that's my last slide. Magandang hapon po. O gabi na pala.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fernando Peseringan, and we will be giving 2 slots questions. Anyone who would like to ask questions for Doc?
Hello. Sir, Professor, good evening. Robert Medillo po, faculty po from the NDCP. Sir, I backtrack po yung inyong research, no? Being a well-known expert po in this particular field, and madalas nyo pong nako-cover yung tinatawag nating coastal erosion. So, could you please enlighten us more about coastal erosion, sir? And nakikita nyo rin po ba itong trend na to sa West Philippine Sea, especially ano yung maaari niyang impact, no, doon sa mga coastal communities in the West Philippine Sea, and how urgent is this issue right now? Thank you, sir.
Okay, maraming salamat. So the question is about coastal erosion. Ito yung pagkawala ng lupain sa dalampasigan. At maraming pwedeng kadahilanan kung bakit nababawasan ang buhangin, no, sa dalampasigan. Ang isa dito, bale, ay yung pagtaas ng dagat. Tumataas ang dagat dahil sa pwedeng may iba't ibang dahilan. Ang isa ay yung related sa tinatawag natin na global warming. Umiinit ang tubig, natutunaw ang yelo elsewhere, umaalsa ang tubig, tumataas ang dagat. At ang Pilipinas ay nasa lugar na kung saan merong napakabilis na pagtaas ng dagat. Ito ay umaabot sa halos 1 sentimetro kada taon, 2 to 3 times faster than the global average. But in addition to that, in the West Philippine Sea where we have the atolls, kaya sila atoll kasi kung saan nakatungtong yung coral reefs, lumulubog yung seafloor. But the coral reefs are made up of corals, they are living, they can adjust to that. So pwede silang makahabol. No, meron silang skeleton, nakakahabol sila. So, yung bilis ng pagtaas ng dagat ngayon, actually wala sanang problema, no, para sa atolls, para sa coral reef. Makaka-adjust sila. Ang problema ay yung health ng reef sa ngayon ay hindi na ganon kaganda. Bukod pa doon ay may ginagawa din ang mga tao na hindi nakakatulong sa health ng reef at doon mismo sa isla. When we construct piers but they are on solid base, we interfere with the flow of water along the coast, and when we interfere with the flow of water, in coral reef areas pwedeng mapunta sa mas malalim na tubig yung sediment at hindi na ito maibalik doon sa beach. Kaya ngayon nagkakaroon ng long-term na pagkabawas ng beach. May pwede ba tayong gawin? Huwag tayong maglagay ng structures na solid-based. Ang ilagay natin ay on still. Ano pa ang pwede natin gawin? let us help the reef. Gawin natin na mas healthy siya. And that can be done. We can restore reefs at hindi kailangang mahal ang pag-restore ng reefs. So, nababawasan, pero pwede nating ma-arrest. No? Meron tayong pwedeng gawin kasi hindi pa siya ganon kabilis. May lalabas kaming paper. It's under review. This is for the 5 islands in the KIG. Pag-asa Island is one of them. Parola is another. And I hope that those who are involved in the development of these islands would listen to the results of research because it can help us.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, sir. And we believe General Padilla has a question.
Thank you very much. First off, Professor, thank you for your efforts. I know you've worked with MSI previously and up to now. Isa lang hong fact na hindi nyo sinabi kanina, yung Scarborough Shoal a long time ago, namatay na yung giant clams dyan. Binuhay natin at dahil sa mga scientifico natin, binalik natin doon, lumagana puli sila. Pero noong oras na kapapasok ng mga inchik dyan, kaya hinuhuli ng ating Navy at ng Coast Guard dati dahil inuubos nila. Wala silang pakialam. Kaya sila palabas ng palabas, papunta na sa ibang lugar na nangingisda at kumukuha ng resources. Dahil yung mismong sarili nilang malalapit na karatig coastline, wala nang resources yan. Ubos na lahat, sira na. Yun yung sinasabi ni Professor. At tayo, kung hindi natin iingatan, ganun na mangyayari sa atin. So, una, nagpapabigay-pugay lang po ako sa mga kauri niyong mga siyentipiko na nadedikadong ginagawa ang kanilang trabaho at patuloy kaming susuporta. At yung Air Force noon, nung ako'y aktibo pa, para mabuhay yung mga giant clams, kinakailangan isakay sa C-130 galing sa Alaminos o galing saan para buhay na maidadala sa Bohol para mabuhay natin at mapalaganap uli natin. So, patuloy pong susuporta ang Armed Forces sa inyo. Ang aking tanong ay, ang aking pong suggestion lang ay, may pera po ang gobyerno. Kung kaya niyo pong maggawa ng representante, yung akap po, kunin niyo na lang. Sana ganun kadali ang buhay, ano? Pwede natin ilagay sa scientific research. Now, the scientific research funding is an uphill battle. DOST only has a fraction of that, and not even a lot of scientists are able to tap it because they make it very rigorous to do so. So, I hope we can get more people to support it. And in the process, increase the scientists that are studying it because we're actually disadvantaged. Many are coming here. Yung sinabi niyo po, very enlightening. Kasi yung isang sako ng black sand na binibenta ng mga LGU, naniningil ng 500 pesos. Noon nga, 300, 150 lang eh. Pero little did I realize that rare earth minerals are in there and it could have been much more than what they have been charging. So I hope they get enlightened. So I'm not going to ask a question because these are scientific studies that have been conducted and I know are based in facts. But I just like to state that we support you strongly, even in the private sector. That's why we made those appeals before you for helping save development along the Manila coastline because we want to show people that the fast rise and destruction of all these nearshore areas are going to be bad for our own cities and our own people. Magkakaroon ng reason ng mga congressman na dagdagan yung kanilang flooding contracts dahil sa tumataas na dagat. Maraming salamat, Professor, and kudos to all your efforts.
Salamat din po.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Sir General Padilla, sir, thank you so much. And Dr. Fernando P. Sirinian, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, natapos na po ang ating talakayan. At ngayon naman po, mga katropa, ay atin naman pakinggan ang mensahe ng ating Commander ng Civil Relations Service Armed Forces of the Philippines. Walang iba kundi si Major General Ramon P. Zagala, Philippine Army.
Good evening to everyone. I'd like to greet, of course, Don McLean Hill. Also, Dr. Fernando Siringan, PhD. My good friend, Captain Lloyd Cassis. Ms. Jam Alindogan. And all those who participated in this forum. To our distinguished guests, youth participants from across the nation, and fellow defenders of the West Philippine Sea, magandang gabi sa ating lahat. I stand before you with immense respect and gratitude as I deliver these closing remarks as we delve into a significant topic for our nation, the West Philippine Sea. This gathering, part of our Tribute 2024, reflects a shared commitment to engage and empower the Filipino youth, who are talented, responsible, informed, and brave. First, I'd like to thank our esteemed guests here today. Your expertise and unwavering dedication have been instrumental in advancing public understanding of the West Philippine Sea. Taking time from your demanding schedule to share your knowledge with our youth is an act of patriotism, and we are deeply grateful. Today's discussion revolves around three interconnected themes: our seas, our rights, and our future. These themes remind us that the advocacy for the West Philippine Sea is not confined to our military or legal experts alone. It is a national endeavor that involves every Filipino. Our seas are not just boundaries on a map. They are the cradle of life for many Filipinos. They provide livelihood, sustain communities, and offer untapped resources critical to our future. The insights shared today by our distinguished guests illuminated the rich history and legal foundations of our claims, affirming that our sovereignty over these waters is rooted in both international law and historical truth. Our rights as a nation are also safeguarded by international frameworks such as the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea. The 2016 Arbitral Award is a testament to the strength of law over force. The deep dive into these legalities during the discussion, alongside with implications of recent legislative measures, underscores the importance of understanding and defending our maritime entitlements. Our future lies in how we protect and sustainably manage these vital resources. The West Philippine Sea is home to incredible marine biodiversity and significant oil and natural gas deposits. Treasures that can secure our energy needs and environmental stability for generations. To the youth participant present today, I challenge you to carry on the lessons of this talk show beyond these walls. Advocate, educate, and inspire others to join this cause. Our seas are not just national treasure, but a legacy we must safeguard for generations to come. This advocacy for the West Philippine Sea is a stand for our sovereignty, our resources, and our identity as a nation. It requires unity, persistence, and courage, traits that you have that tribute. Together, we must remain steadfast to uphold our rights and promote peace and development within our waters. In closing, let us remember that the defense of freedom and our sovereignty is a duty that rests upon each one of us. The West Philippine Sea is ours, not just in name, but in essence. It is the reflection of our heritage and our future. Let us protect it with unwavering resolve and pride. Thank you, and may this event inspire us all to take meaningful action. Maraming salamat.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Commander of the Civil Relations Service Armed Forces of the Philippines, Major General Ramon P. Zagala, Philippine Army. At ngayon naman po mga katropa ay natapos na po ang ating talakayan. Talaga namang for sure yung ating mga katropang nanonood sa ating live feed ay marami ding natutunan. Katulad na lang din ng mga nanonood dito sa atin live.
Yes, katulad nating lahat. Ayan mga katropa, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong pagtutok. At tayo po ay magpapatuloy. Siyempre pa, meron pa tayong
Yes, mga
meron pa
katropa.
kaming mga ihahandog. So Stay there, hang in there, ayan.
Ayan na po mga katropa, ay ngayon naman ay panoorin po natin ang isang video greeting from Senator Francis Tolentino.
It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom, it's a song about love between the brothers and the sisters of this land.
Major General Ramon Zagala, I'd like to congratulate all of you. Magandang araw po sa inyo sa Tribute 2024. Nakikiisa ako sa inyong layunin na palakasin ang boses ng ating mga kabataan. Ang ganitong initiative ay mahalaga upang mahubog ang susunod na henerasyon ng mga leader na may prinsipyo at malasakit sa bayan. Ang atin pong ginagawa ngayon ay patuloy na maging boses kayo ng pagbabago. Kasama niyo po ako rito at naway pagpalain kayo ng ating pong may kapal. Muli po, ito si Senator Francis Tolentino. Mabuhay po ang Tribute 2024.
It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom, it's a hammer of justice.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Senator Tolentino.
Ayan mga katropa, ay nagtapos na po ang ating programa sa gabing ito. And ngayon naman po ay ita-transition na po natin sa nagaganap dyan sa Quezon City University. Kasalukuyan pong sinasagawa ang ating Tribute 2024.
Oo, alam mo, excited ako dyan, Jai, no? Kasi nandun yung mga kabataan, meron silang mga presentation at the same time, yung ating mga kawal Pilipino, talagang naghandog din nung kanilang mga kakayahan at nagkaroon sila no ng mga aktibidad dyan. At nakita ko kanina yung mga drama-drama nila.
Yes.
Hindi ba? Ayan, maraming salamat din. Excited kami kanina. Pinanood din namin.
Ayan mga katropa. No? And of course, hindi lamang po sa Quezon City University. Ongoing din po ang ating mga programa sa ating different areas po within the Philippines. And of course, nandyan po ang ating mga civil relations group mula dyan sa Quezon, mula sa
Lucena, sa Kamsur, and Albay.
We also have from Viscom, Visayas Command, our third CRG. From Zamboanga, our fourth CRG.
Zamboanga.
And from Davao, fifth CRG. We also have from our katropas from Palawan and Tarlac.
Huwag nating kalimutan ang dyan po naman sa 7th Infantry Division, hindi ba?
Yes.
And so maraming salamat po and congratulations. At ang lahat ng ito po, yung lahat ng mga aktibidad na inihahandog ng ating mga kawal ay syempre para po sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga kabataan. Kaya talagang tunay na tribute.
Ayan mga katropa, and we would like also to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our mga katropas na talaga namang nakaantabay sa atin, no? Mula unang pag-conduct pa natin ng tribute hanggang sa yearly na natin ginagawa po ang tribute. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga sumuporta. And also sa ating mga katropang Bella, no, na sumuporta din sa ating talk show ngayon. I'm sure marami talaga tayong natutunan from our resource persons, mga katropa.
Yun, ang maganda dito kasi mapapanood nila ito sa YouTube. Ayan po. So after this, pwede nyo pong ibahagi.
Yes.
Please like and share as well. And i-share nyo rin po sa Facebook, di ba?
Yes.
Ayan, yung ating mga katropa, yung ating mga kabataan, lalo na importante po talaga na tayo ay maging aware, alamin po natin, and syempre ipaglaban at suportahan ang atin po namang yung ating efforts. Lahat ng efforts para po naman mapanatili natin ang kagandahan ng ating natural resources, lalo na po ang ating karagatan.
And gusto lang po namin ding i-relay sa ating mga katropang nanonood, no, nga ang tribute natin na kasalukuyan na pong nagaganap sa Quezon City University ay mapapanood po natin live sa ating Facebook page, the AFP Radio DWDD. Also para sa mga updates po ng ating Armed Forces of the Philippines, maaaring din pong i-follow and i-like and i-share ang ating AFP Radio DWDD.
Ayan, para dun po sa mapapanood natin mamaya, magkakaroon sila yung mga iba't ibang mga uniformed personnel ay magkakaroon po ng performance, mapapanood nyo po yan at yan po ay kayong nabibilangan ng ating mga kapulisan at syempre ng ating mga kasundaluhan.
And We would also like to thank everyone na nasa likod po ng ating mga kamera na talaga
Oo
naman pong
nga.
napaka-aktibo.
Kanina
na-
pa natin kasama,
yes,
diba?
Kanina pa natin sila nakakasama. And also sa lahat po ng mga civil relations group natin, maraming salamat din kasi aktibo din po sila sa ating mga activities, mga katropa, no? Para po maipahayag natin yung mga nais nating malaman ng ating mga katropang nanonood ngayon.
Tama. At kasalukuyan pong nagaganap ang iba't ibang mga tribute programs, no, yung mga activities. Once again, maraming salamat din dun sa mga nag-accommodate, no, lalo na yung mga kung saan ginaganap ngayon yung mga tribute programs at yung lahat ng mga naging bahagi or nagiging bahagi pa sa kasalukuyan ng mga pagtatanghal na ito. Kanina nakita ko yung mga nagpa-practice, no, nainggit ako bakit yun talagang ang ating mga kabataan ngayon ay sabi nga talentado, full of talents, and ayon. Kaya kami ay humahanga po sa kanila dahil ang ating mga kabataan ay tunay naman ding nagiging aware na, no, sa lahat ng mga bagay na dapat talagang malaman, lalo na nga po at ito ay may kaugnayan sa atin namang kinabukasan.
Yes, and na-mention ni Katropang Bell kanina, no, yung mga pinagdausan po ng ating tribute ngayon from all over the CRGs. Katulad na lamang po ng sa SM Lucena, we have, from the Second Civil Relations Group, 4 po ang kanilang kinater na tribute, mga katropa, no? And
Kasipag.
yes, from second, ito may update from our second Civil Relations Group ng ating
Tamang-tama,
CRS-IFP
nabanggit
mula
natin.
naman po sa Ginobatan, Albay. Katropang Jess, ano na nga ba ang nangyayari dyan?
Ayon, si Katropang Jess, magandang gabi.
Yes, marhay na banggi, Katropang Jai, or should I say, magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Andito tayo ngayon sa Operation Pavilion, dito sa munisipalidad ng Ginobatan, Albay, kung saan ininaraos ang tribute to West Philippine Sea sa pamamagitan ng isang bagets na may temang sayaw sa pagkakaisa ng kabataan para sa West Philippine Sea. So mahigit kumulang 200 na participants sa iba't ibang barangay ang nakiisa sa atin. Ang ilan dito ay mga SK chairman, SK Gagawa at ibang pang bagets, enthusiast na nakiisa sa ating activity ngayong gabi. So dahil kasama din namin dito ang mga kasundaluhan galing sa 9th Infantry Battalion, 9th Civil Military Operations Battalion, 49th Infantry Battalion, Tactical Operations Group 5, at pati na rin ang PNP Ginobatan, Bureau of Fire Protection, at Coast Guard District People. Kasama ko ngayon dito dyan ang SK President ng Federation ng Ginobatan Albay. Sir, ano po kaya ang masasabi ninyo tungkol sa ating activity? Ano po kaya ang contribution ng kabataan tungkol sa usaping West Philippine?
So hello po, good evening. Thank you dahil may pag-invitation to. Ang mga contribute ng kabataan sa West Philippine Sea is the fact na alam naman natin na hindi namin kaya na makipaglaban sa armas. Kaya namin na makipaglaban through social media platforms na pwede namin encourage ang youth na ano din tayo wala. Tas i-influence yung youth sa social media na kung ano yung sa atin is sa atin.
Yes, tama yan. Sir Kim, yung pag-inform sa ating kabataan ng factual information gamit ang ating social media platform ay isa sa pinaka-epektibong paraan para suportahan ang West Philippine Sea. Ano po kaya ang masasabi mo sa mga kapwa mo kabataan?
Ang masasabi ko lang po sa ating mga kapwa kabataan is wag na dapat itandaan nila na kung ano ang atin ay atin. Ang West Philippine Sea ay atin. Kaya kailangan natin paglaban, di man sa armas o sa anuman na dahas na kaya natin is yung mga social media platforms na gano'n na information na malalaman ng mga kabataan na yung atin ay atin.
Thank you, Sir. Ito, nakakatuwa ka to, Pang Joy, kasi ito ang layunin ng ng ating gobyerno, especially ng ating armed forces, na maging mula ang Pilipino, lalong-lalo na ang mga kabataan sa usapin tungkol sa West Philippine Sea. Na dapat may pakialam sila at may pakialam tayo. So lahat well-informed tungkol sa karapatan ng West Philippine Sea. So yes, nais po nating pasalamatan kaya mga buong pamunuan ng munisipalidad ng Ilupatan sa pamumuno ni Mayor Chino Garcia na kung saan mula sa umpisa hanggang sa maitaos natin ang activity natin dito na nakasuporta siya. And pati na rin ang katuwang natin ang City Legazpi, AMSLY, at SMC Legazpi. Pati na rin yung mga kasundaluhan natin kapanahin, uniform personnel na naririto ngayon. So yan dyan ang update dito sa Ginubatan. Ako si Katropang Jess mula dito sa Bicol. Nagpapaalala na ang West Philippine Sea. Alamin, ipaglaban, supportahan. Our seas, our rights, our future.
Ayan, maraming salamat Katropang Jess and everyone there from Albay. Talagang napaka-aktibo ng ating mga kabataan. Ano?
Right, congratulations.
Yes, lagi silang andyan para makiisa sa ating mga aktibidad, yung mga katropa. No? And ngayon mga katropa ay nagsisimula na po ang ating tribute dyan sa Quezon City University. So live po nating mapapanood yan dito ngayon. Ang ating Tribute 2024, a musical theater, ano mga katropa.
At narito na po at panoorin nating sabay-sabay. Ayan ako, sige.
Kailangan member kayo ng Youth Organization Registration Program. Register the organization. Okay, next. Meron kaming GIP. Ito yung government. You can apply. Mag-work kayo sa NYC for 3 months. No? Next slide. Almost done. So ito yung strategic direction namin. Kailangan magkaroon kami ng presence sa buong Pilipinas.
Yan ba yan?
Pilipinas, inclusive.
Bakit? Ano ulit? Di ba presentation? Ano ba yan? Naglalas. Ito.
Yung participation, walang maiiwan ng mga kabataan. Sa assistance sa SK, meron kaming policy advocacy and PYDP advocacy. Next. Ayan. Okay, thank you so much. At paki-add po ako sa yung aking Facebook, NC Army Maropa Cluster. I-message niyo po ako kung interesado po kayo sa mga programa na sinabi ko. Mga programa na alam ko na magkakaroon kayo ng magandang participation at makipag-interact din sa mga iba't ibang youth organizations. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat for inviting the National Youth Commission.
All right, thank you so much, sir, and for the empowering the young people for the various programs of the National Youth Commission.
Maraming mga pwedeng salihan. International pa yung mga programs ng NYC. So kung interesado kayo, no, yung sinabing details ni sir, pwede niyong i-search at maki-join doon sa commission.
Yes, sabi nga ni sir, no one left behind. Kaya sa ating mga kabataan, sa ating mga young people, ay mangarap tayo and we can make a difference in our community through changing our lives.
I know, no? Medyo matagal na tayong nakaupo, so we'll do a little exercise lang.
Yes.
Tayo konti.
Tayo muna.
Stretching exercise lang tayo ng bahagya.
Ay.
Para naman yung mga blood cells nyo sa mga paa ninyo is mabuhay. You stomp your feet, you do stretching exercise. Para lang medyo, you can jump. You can do jump and jacks.
Okay, make exercise sila. Okay, everybody, as we are serving the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Ayan, pang military, exercise.
Just follow my command, okay? Alam niyo ba yung harap, kaliwa, kanan? Harap sa likod, harap sa kanan, harap sa kaliwa? Okay, everybody. Ayun, na talagang alam nila. Okay, at my command, everybody, harap sa kaliwa, harap. Okay?
Hindi pa marunong ng kaliwa.
Okay, harap sa kaliwa. Okay, everybody, taas ang dalawang kamay.
Taas ang dalawang kamay.
Okay, ipatong sa harapan ng balikat, ipatong sa balikat ng inyong harapan.
Nasa harapan ninyo.
Nasa harapan.
Ayan.
Okay, and syempre, pigain ninyo ng massage. Ayan. Yung masarap na massage. Ayan, thank you so much. Okay, baba kamay. Okay, harap sa likod. Harap. Okay, very good.
You do the
Talagang sinabi. You do
same.
the same, Patong. Ang iyong mga kamay sa balikat na nasa harap. Ayan. Alright, thank you so much. Pwede na tayo umupo, partner, ano?
Alright, pwede tayo umupo. Palakpakan ninyo ang inyong mga
Palakpakan ninyo.
sarili.
Oo, nakaunat-unat din.
Napaka-cooperative and
I am very happy and excited to be here. Actually, hindi ko nga gustong ipaalam, but then because it was mentioned earlier, no, I feel good seeing about 22 years ago. So kayo na I was only 23 years old then, so bahala na kayo sa. She would just want to send her regards, and I would, on behalf of our city mayor, I would like to express our gratitude and joy of having this event with us. Muli po, magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Sa masiglang kabataan na mula pa sa iba't ibang bahagi ng NCR, sa mga iginagalang na tagapagtaguyod mula sa Civil Relations Service ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, sa ating mga performers at sa lahat ng dumalo upang makibahagi sa mahalagang pagtitipon na ito. We also would like to thank Quezon City University for hosting us and for allowing us to conduct this event in this wonderful auditorium in their campus. We would also like to thank the Civil Relations Services staff for assisting us and for organizing this event. This city recognizes the important role of the youth in peace and nation building. Kaya naman, isa sa mga programa ng Quezon City sa pamumuno ni Mayor Joy Belmonte sa ilalim ng Quezon City Youth Development Office na sumasalamin sa layuning ito ay ang Kabataang Quezon City Vanguards Program. Ang programang ito ay nilikha upang bigyang kakayahan ng kabataang QC na maging tagapagtaguyod ng disiplina, integridad at pagmamalasakit sa bayan. Ang Kabataang Quezon City Vanguards Program ay nagsisilbing inspirasyon at gabay para sa kabataang QC na maging aktibong kalahok sa pagbuo ng isang mas malakas, mas maayos at mas mapagmalasakit na Quezon City at Pilipinas. And we hope that this will serve as a model for other cities and for other youth organizations to follow. Quezon City is also home to 300 registered youth organizations. These registered youth organizations work with the National Youth Commission and advocate advocacy such as education, health, governance, active citizenship, and peace and order, among others. On our end, we ensure that these organizations are represented in the city's local youth development council. In fact, I believe we have representatives or youth leaders from the local youth development council. If you are still here, please raise your hands. Okay. Ang LYDC po ay grupo ng mga kabataan or youth leaders that have a seat or get a say in decision-making on programs that affect youth, to include programs on peace and order. And together with the Sangguniang Kabataan, we ensure that funds are allocated and programs are implemented, okay, that would advocate peace and order. Today's activity is a testament to what we can achieve when government institutions, organizations, and the youth work hand in hand. It serves as a powerful reminder that no effort is too small when it comes to making a difference for our country. As you participate in the program today, listening to discussions, engaging with speakers, and drawing inspiration from the performances, we hope that you remember that you are not just the leaders of tomorrow, but you're also the leaders of today. Your voices, ideas, and actions matter. And together, you are building a future grounded in patriotism, resilience, and solidarity. On behalf of the Quezon City Youth Development Office, I express our full support for this program, and we are proud to stand with the Civil Relations Service of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and every young person here today in advancing our shared goal of promoting national interests and a stronger and more united Philippines. Maraming salamat po.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ayan po, palakpakan po natin muli. Ang head ng Quezon City Youth Development Office, Dr. Edeline DWDD, Doctor of Business Administration.
Yes, Katropang Glenn, I would just like to remind you that this is only the first part of our proceedings, no? Meron pa po tayong musical entertainment na mangyayari on our second half. So, sit back, relax. Alam ko, yung iba medyo naglalayag na ang mga kaisipan, pero the point here is you are very privilege yung mga nandito, no? Hindi lahat ng kabataan bibigyan ng pagkakataon para maka-witness ng mga inspiring message from a very, very competent personalities all over the sectors of our organization. Kaya palakpakan nyo ang inyong mga sarili.
And palakpakan din po natin ang ating mga speakers. Talaga naman, they dedicate themselves para po maghatid ng informations sa ating mga kabataan at maging kabahagi ng ating goal to have a peaceful and progressive country.
Alright, Glenn, no? Kaya ngayon, Katropang Glenn, we will now be having our culmination, isang presentasyon para sa inyong lahat, para sa mga nanonood sa atin. Muli, Katropang Glenn, tawagin natin, muli ditong babalik sa ating entablado, ang Indayo Dance Company!
narito tayo ngayon
Kumapit ka ngayon. Kinikilala ko ang mga karampatan mo. Tulad mo, ako rin ay tao, nananalay ika'y sa'kin, lahing Pilipino. Kapatid ko isa ka, may damdamin at mayroong puso. Magmahal tayong Pilipino. Bawat tama ng bala ay doble ang sakit. Bawat patak ng luha dulot ay pait. Galit sa isa't isa'y tuluyang kalimutan. Bigyang daanan, papayapa ang walang gas. Sige na, sabay na kayo. Halika na, kumapit ka ngayon. Pwede bang mas mataas ang flag natin? Yan ang kabataang Pilipino. Tandaan nyo, makapangyarihan kayo. Tandaan yan, meron kayong boses. Kayo ang pag-asa ng ating bayan. Tama na ang sakit. Kalimutan mong ika'y galit. Kapayapa ay huwag ipagkait. Ang ating buksan, puso't isipan para sa kapayapaan. Kinikilala ko ang mga karapatan mo. Patulad mo, ako rin tao, nananalangin tayo sa atin, lahing Pilipino. Kapatid ko'y isa at mayroong puso. Magkaisa tayong Pilipino. Kailangan natin to. Magkaisa tayong Pilipino. Grabe po.
Yan po ba?
Ibang
Ngayon
passion ng
nakakaya
ating mga kabataan. Pwede pong stop lang po muna. Sir, gusto ko lang sabihin sa inyo na kayo ang pag-asa ng ating bayan. Kayo ang tagapagtanggol ng ating West Philippine Sea. Naniniwala ba kayo na sa inyo, sa atin ang West Philippine Sea? Medyo mahina. Naniniwala ba kayo na ang West Philippine Sea ay sa atin? Sinabi ko po kanina na kayo ay may boses. Kayo ay may kapangyarihan. Nalaman nyo na ang katotohanan, kaya huwag niyong ikahiya. Gamitin nyo ang influence nyo through the power of social media. Pagkalat natin sa buong mundo na sa atin ang West Philippine Sea. Mag-aral kayong mabuti para balang araw walang sino mang pwedeng tumapak sa lahing Pilipino. So, this is my last song. Ang awiting ito ay pinamagatang WPS, Akin Ka. Sino nang nakarinig sa awiting na to? Yan. Ito ay love song natin para sa ating West Philippine Sea. Pwede ba kayong tumayo at samahan niyo akong awiting? Ang awiting ito, yan. And let us proudly wave our flag. Pwede pa po bang lakasan yung microphone ko sa tech? Let us proudly wave our flag. And of course, sasamahan din po tayo ng ating Youth Empowerment Society, ang Yes WPS, sa mga gustong sumama sa youth organization na to. Yan po sila. Ma'am, nakikita niyo po. Pwede niyo pong pag-igtingin ng inyong advocacy para sa ating West Philippine Sea. Okay? Para po sa ating lahat.
West Philippine Sea all belong to the Philippines. Sa pagitan ng konfrontasyon at peace rally sa pagitan ng mga tauhan ng China Coast Guard.
Naka-cover naman ang mga Navy personnel.
Meanwhile, the
Sa nanlulupig, di ka pasisiil.
Ito ay uwitin ng isang Pilipinong nagmamahal ng buong-buo sa kanyang minamahal na Pilipinas. Pwede niyo pong sabayan. Sabay-sabay tayo. Kumikinang ang iyong ganda, kayamanan mo'y sinasamba mo'y pilit kang inaangkin, dayuhang madilim ang hangarin. Hindi papayag na angkinin ka ng iba, o Pilipinas, nag-iisa ang iyong ganda.
kayamanan mo'y iingatan, kinabukasan aalagaan. Sabay-sabay tayo. Huwag mo'y di ka minamahal, kulang ba sa'yo lang susugal, ipagtatanggol kita, papawin ang iyong luha, ipaglalaban ka, buhay kumanay mo, taas noong isisigaw, malakas na malakas, sabayan niyo ako. WPS akin ka. Ang galing. Pagtitray ng bumabangon para sa iyo, nagkulang man noon, ngayon buong buo, ibubuhos ang lakas at tapang anino may. Handa ba kayo? Lumaban! Huwag isipin, di ka minamahal, kulang man lakas sa'yo lang susugal, ipagtatanggol kita, papawiin ang iyong luha, ipaglalaban ka, buhay kumanay, taas noong isisigaw. Isigaw natin ha, malakas. 1, 2, 3, 4. WPDS akin. WPS! Sumipitipay tayo. Ako'y handang sa'yo. Handa pa kayo? O Pilipinas! O Pilipinas! O Pilipinas! Lagi mong isip, ikaw ibibigay mo lahat sa'yo, isusugal, ipagtatanggol kita, papawin ang iyong luha, ipaglalaban ka, buhay kumanay, mawala noong isisigaw. Malakas na malakas. 1, 2, 3, 4. WP, akin ka. Isa pa po. Isa pa. WP, akin ka. Oh, Philippine Sea, sa Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po. And of course, this is our last song. Last song na po pala natin to. Lahat po tayo kasama. Jenny and ayan, ang ating mga magagandang singers. Kasama na po kayong lahat. Ma'am,
We would like to request the Bureau of Fire.
at syempre lahat
the
tayo,
Philippine-
kakanta tayo.
Lahat kakanta tayo, ma'am.
Ang hirap pong umawit pag naiiyak. Grabe po yung overwhelming support at emotion ng ating mga kabataan. para sa ating West Philippine Sea. By the way, this is a tribute. So it's just fitting for us to be emotional tonight. May bibig naman, no? Sabay-sabay natin piliin. Minsan dalawa ang paglikaw, ito ang liwang hulo aking buwan. Mga iyas na inilatag sa masuklang dagat. At ang bayan siya pinili, nasa dulo ang pag-ari. Sa libong kulay, mga tupa. Ito ang Pilipinas, puro aking ng pelas. Piliin mo, yakapin mo, pinatan na ligas. Piliin mo ang Pilipinas. Lagi natin piliin ang Pilipinas. Bawat hawig, napasisig lang indas, napasusunilipas. Ang Pilipinas, kapulo ang kwintas ng pelas. Piliin mo, yakapin mo, kewa ng may ligas. Piliin mo, Pilipinas. Pilipinas, Piliin mo, Pilipinas. Jason, that have the parties. Yeah, first. Oh, that's Pilipinas.
I know when he's been on your mind, that distant look is in your eyes. I thought with time you'd realize it's over. Something somewhere's got to give as sharing this relationship gets older, older. You know I'd fight for you, but how can I fight someone who isn't even there? I've had the rest of you, now I want the best of you. I don't care if that's not fair. I know when he's been on your mind, that distant look is in your eyes. I thought with time you'd realize it's over, over. It's not the way I choose to live, and something somewhere's got to give as sharing this relationship gets older. wanna fight someone